So now I want to go for explanation about the conditions in here. So I have prepared a kind of table in here that the conditions and that they are supported in Navisworks, for example. And here I've just written them for them, equal, not equal. In this part, maybe they're really clear to you. Of course, we've talked about it before and we have a kind of example in here. But about, for example, these parts, maybe they are a little vague. And for example, you can't understand them, that we'll talk about them. So, for example, what does contains mean? Let me start for this. If I go, for example, for here and select this column, in family we have, it starts by W shape column. Framing will be selected in here, family, W shape, for example, or wall even. Family starts by basic wall. You see, we have W in here again. So if for you, for example, for example, to find a kind of element that what word it starts by. For example, we can go to category, this part element based on property of family, for example, in here. So let me just click on family. Let me just set a condition contain, for example, that if I click W enter, fine, you see, everything that has been selected by W should be found in here for me. The alarm that we saw in here, it says no objects found. The reason is because I just clicked on HVAC. I can just click on empty place in here that, for example, the HVAC is deselected in here. Or for example, I can click on structural that it finds just in the structural for us. So you see, it's like it. Or even, for example, if you find nothing in here, it will search in all of the project. It is 3640. If I just click on this, it will be 978 items. So it's really helpful for us in many projects in here. For example, here WS. Let me type it, fine. You see, no objects found. Again, we don't have WS in here. So like this, you can just find the elements based on the structural form of your work that you're doing, and it's really easy. So let me just click on W to find, contain means something like this. You can just add the characters that you want based on the need that you have. For example, it's really important, interesting item that you can have, and it's really practical. So the next form actually in condition is what card in here. For example, it means you can actually, by helping us some symbols or even, for example, characters, you can just replace some words that a little faster. You can find them and search for them. As an example, let's assume, let me just open Notepad just a moment. For example, we have a topic in the name of, for example, block in here. And for example, beam or brick and such, these kinds of examples in here. If actually we want to find them based on material, in family name, for example, we want to find them, we can use the star character or for example, question mark, we can use them. It's really interesting point. Question mark means that, for example, it will be replaced instead of, for example, one special character. You can just set that in for, but star or cross, for example, means it will replace any number of the characters that you want. As an example, I have a block in here, or for example, we have a brick or anything else. If I want, for example, to type, for example, B cross K for search, yes, it will go and, for example, search based on the family name or material name. It will, for example, search, for example, based on the first of that character. If it is B or end that is K, we'll find them. But if we have a kind of question mark in here, it means we have B and K, but I'm not sure that what I've written in the middle of them. So if we have, for example, 3 characters, for example, we have one question mark. If we have 4 characters, we have 2 question marks. It's really smart. If I click on final, nothing will be selected. Let me just click on this one for a moment. We'll go to element family, WN. Yes, I can go in here and I click W times 2 or cross 2, for example, enter, fine. You have to be careful all of the items that will be selected, and let me just click on this one at the first, and the end will be started or ended by them. Yes, beam will be selected. W is the first, but the end of that is something else. So let me click this one again. find all, you see, hide unselected, yes, what has been selected, so, foundation of course was selected in here. So if I just click on this, it is W, and end is the N. So it's really smart searching that we are just seeing that. Find all again, let me just select all of it. So let me just hide the architecture in here that is a little vacant. So another form that we can get help from it is, as an example, for example, let me just click on this one. I will go to this part, material, to see what we have in here. For example, the wall that we have in here, material, name is being used, this one. I mean C, the end of that is Y. I can go to this part actually. Let me open this list, material, equal name, so white card, the capital C cross Y. So we want to see what kind of element is following. For example, you see the floors have been selected, so it's just really smart searching in here that we are seeing that. So, or let me go to this part, let me just select this duct, for example, in this part, for example, duct type in here, round, and let me find another parameter in here, for example, name, Revit type, name is TS, you see. Let me go to this part, let me find Revit type, and for example, this name, category, name, again, white card, for example. So what we had in here, we had T double question mark and S. So we are not aware that what is happening in here. So it is not in a structural file because we have it in a structural. Let me just go on HVAC, find, you see, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. So we have 1045. Let me find it to 1226. You see, wherever that we have families, it is T's, of course. We are not aware that what we have in the middle, for example, it happens in a lot of materials in here, as many as the characters that we have. If you have the question mark in here, we are not aware that, for example, what kind of characters that we have that the first we have, for example, T, or at the end we have S. We have really smart searching in Navisworks. It's really perfect and nice. Really, it's unique. For example, the people that are BIM coordinator or BIM manager, these are the points that, for example, they can set them really professional people. So you have to get familiar with of course, the condition white card, or for example, based on the question mark, that it works by this. Let me just tell you that cross means that, for example, I am aware the first and end character, but I'm not aware, for example, just the middle of that. But the question mark means that, for example, I know how many characters it has, but I'm not aware the middle characters. I know that the first is this one and the end, for example, is something else. As many as the characters that we have, we can just type question mark in here. You can search it. If we have, for example, 3 characters, we have 3. If it has 1, we have 1 question mark in here. So it's really a valuable feature for us. Another form is define. It means that, for example, you want to, for example, search about one property that you have a kind of amount about it. For example, if I go to this part and click on this column, the material that we have item is empty. The material is empty, for example. Let me go in here. It is empty. So let me go to this part. So let me set it an item. So based on the material and define everywhere that it has been defined. So you see find, you see for the columns it didn't select them. So why? Because of course, let me just go on a structural here, let me find it. All of them were selected. When I click on this one, you see the material is empty. So let me go to this part. Geometry, actually, material has been defined. Yes. So wherever that has been defined for us, it will be selected. So let me go on white card. In here, steel. Let me type steel in here. And in this part, actually, S, for example, L. Let's see where it has used these materials. You see all of those places were selected. Define everywhere that the amount has been entered into everything it is. As an example, let me just return to the first object in here. Let me go to one of these parameters that we want to consider in here. For example, let's find it. For example, for wall, Revit material, for example, we want to see we have any place that we have cut pattern that has been defined. For example, in here, let's go and find Revit material in here to find it in here based on the feature of cut pattern in here. Define. We want to see where it has been defined. Wherever that has been defined in here, it will be selected. Let me just click on all of them. Final. You see, just those ones that have cut patterns, they have been selected. Let's return to here, for example, surface pattern, or for example, do we have any similar word? For example, surface pattern define and find. You know, any of them. We have of course 43. Yes, let's see where they are. Just those ones that they have surface patterns, they have been selected. These techniques actually, because you are a BIM coordinator or BIM manager, you're just doing this action and you want to check the models, for example, you want to find them, control them about the quality and such. These kinds of examples, you can use these features, these structures that you have, for example, in your, for example, BP or EIR, for example, for yourselves. You can do them. So the last option is undefined. This is exactly unlike defined. Let me just show them all. Let me just hide architecture because you can see that better. It means actually for every kind of element that it hasn't been defined in here, it's used for them. For example, if those ones that they don't have service pattern, we want to select them. You see, it can really make your work faster, and it's really better. Every kind of parameter that you want, you can just select it. As an example, let me click on item. Let me type it, select it. Based on actually the material that you have and undefined and everything that hasn't been defined. Of course, we have it for all. Let's go to this part, for example, based on name, we have it, source file type, unit, of course, all of them are okay, undefined, fine, you see, like this, they will be selected. You know, for any of them, we don't have any kind of, for example, angle. So for any kind of amount or parameter that you have, for example, you want to consider, based on that you want to check, you can do it. So this is about, for example, the features that we have in Find Items.